My top 20 Marvel and DC heroes ranked 1 through 4 is least, and 17 to 20. Now, this one's very, heck, all these lists are very personally biased, but I feel this one comes in the strongest the most. But yeah, so I'm mostly judging these based off of characteristics and story. So first row, I have Hawkman. He's lower because I really like his design and his attitude, but his storylines get very confusing. Daredevil, his storylines, he has a couple that are really good, but most of them aren't so great, but his characteristics are amazing. Blade, um, he's just not one of my favorites, honestly. And Colossus doesn't take much of a forefront, so that's why those are placing in there. Batman Beyond, I think he gets a little too much recognition. Same with Wolverine, who's up there, but I mean, I still like Wolverine a lot more than Batman Beyond, and I like a lot of these other characters more than him. So, but he is one of my favorite DC characters. So, you know. Then you have Jubilee, which I don't believe gets enough credit, and she hasn't appeared in nearly enough movies. I mean, she's appeared in all the X-Men movies, but she's never appeared as a full-on character, like with an important role. She's always been like a side character at most. Most of the time, she's just a cameo. But her role in the X-Men cartoon series was amazing, and her role as a teacher in the comic books whenever she graduated was really fun. Overall, I'd describe her character as that fun and energetic, so yeah, I like it. Doctor Strange, his stories are absolutely nuts, and his character portrayal in both the animated movie, which I would highly recommend over the first Benedict Cumberbatch movie. Um, Although I do like the Wong from the Cumberbatch movie more. But overall, the animated is where I would go if you want to find out more about how the character really feels, because I think they flesh out the backstory a lot more than the live action movie. But overall, both portrayals are really fun, um, and they really do dive into the mystical arts really well. Um, although the cape is not living in the animated version either, so yeah. Nightcrawler, I just have always loved his storylines, and his friendship with Wolverine has always gotten me to smile. And he was pretty good in all the X movies, but I honestly prefer him in the cartoons more. And he was just a little too serious in the X Men movies for my taste. I still liked him, but in the cartoons he's a lot more like lighthearted. Although he was a little creepy in the pilot episode that's on VHS for the scrapped X-Men series. They sold it as like a straight-to-video movie kind of thing. It was weird, but he was a little creepy in that. But other than that, he was just fine. I like the character. His appearance in Ultimate Lion is a pirate version. It was really cool, too. Although I don't like the Ultimate version where he's a demon. I thought that was stupid. Red Hood, he has a great character arc, but he kind of dipped down later on. But Under the Red Hood is a great movie to start with if you're curious about the character. Jon Stewart, he's just always been my favorite Green Lantern, and I've loved his marriage to Vixen, the whole hot girl thing, all that. He's just awesome to me. Um, I'm not exactly sure why. He's just awesome to me, and he's always been one of my favorites. Plastic Man, he's really comedic, and I do like comedic characters, and his powers and skill set can be used a lot of ways in video games and stuff. Although he hasn't appeared in many, but most of them he has used them in a lot of different ways, which I find really cool. Star-Lord, I just like his attitude in the movies. He wasn't that cool in the comics before the movies, but if you watch the movies, you get why he's in this list in that ranking. Then you have Vision. I've always just liked his moveset and his attitude. He's always just been kind of like his powers and colors are just so vibrant and cool. I just absolutely like them. Then we have the Barry Allen Flash. I like him the most because he's the most kind, and the most thoughtful, and he has the funniest lines out of most of the Flashes. Wally West is very close, but I prefer Barry Allen the best. And they had all the different versions, but I chose Barry as the Flash. And they had a bunch of different versions of Green Lantern, but Jon Stewart's my favorite. So then Wolverine, his stories, his whole everything about him is just amazing. And he's one of my favorites, but he appears a lot in the top spots, but he's not quite there for me. Ghost Rider would also be on this list. Same with Black Panther if they had him, but they didn't have those characters on the list I was looking at. Martian Manhunter is very close to Vision in everything. I've always loved his colors, his storyline, his emotions. I especially like his marriage to, like, it's always like a black woman or a Chinese woman, depending on the writer, because he wants to feel like the pressure of outside people who aren't white Americans, which I mean, I thought that was a good way to introduce that kind of political subject into it. And I just loved the comics with that. It was just sweet. Then we have Gambit, who I don't believe gets enough attention. He's amazing. I especially like his Cajun backstory with the swamp witches. Swamp witches and greasy Cajuns with chains. And he just happens to be a mutant with kinetic powers. So he goes to the world to go collect some money from, well, cards and gambling, hence his name Gambit, from gambling, which is cool. I do like that. They used it in the Wolverine movie, but I wish they would go more on the swamp stuff. They did in his solo series, but that didn't last long. I have the entire collection, but it didn't last very long, but it was cool when it did. Beast Boy, I just like Beast Boy in general. I just like cat characters in general. Um, and with me liking the Teen Titans as a kid, I always grew an attachment to him and Cyborg because of their friendship and his ability to turn into a cat. Constantine, I always loved his attitude and his, like, I just don't care. You give me a deck of cards, I just want to relax by the bar kind of attitude. And his humor is like the dry wit. Oh, it's great. But his power set is really cool too, just like Doctor Strange. And like Zatanna is another good point with him. I always kind of liked Zatanna in him. But yeah. Beast, I always liked his cat version, and he was great in the Spider-Man and X-Men crossover from the 90s, and his character backstory with all that, it was amazing. I love the character depth with the character depth with the character. Yeah, that's grammatically correct. It just sounds very repetitive. But overall, I just like the character. So I'll let you guys take one last look at all of these, and yeah. There's my standing for superheroes from DC and Marvel.